Here's the brief. News from the world over this week. In Syria, the Islamic State has attacked a string of Christian villages along the Kabur River, and even more Christians have been kidnapped. The river valley is home to tens of thousands of Assyrian Christians. As many as 370 were abducted late last month after ISIS overran several communities there. In spite of the killings, or kidnappings rather, ISIS is not necessarily targeting Christians. Instead, the area is a key transportation corridor linking ISIS militants in Syria to those in Iraq. Some news outlets and NGOs are reporting that a few of those previously kidnapped were released this week. Precise numbers are hard to confirm, perhaps a few small busloads, according to one church source. Meanwhile, the Islamic State's rampage of Iraqi antiquities continue. According to a government official, ISIS blew up a 10th century Chaldean Catholic church in Mosul. The destruction comes in the wake of ISIS looting and bulldozing the ancient cities of Nimrud, which is referenced in Genesis, and 2,000-year-old Hatra, the capital of the first Arab kingdom. Last month, Islamists desecrated and destroyed ancient artifacts and relics that were housed in the Mosul Museum. What a cultural loss. And Chaldean Catholic Patriarch Louis Raphael Sacco is urging the Iraqi government and the international community to act quickly and to help Iraqi refugees. He's asking them to protect innocent civilians and to offer necessary lodging, food, and medications to the afflicted. He warned the latest battles between Iraqi forces and ISIS threatens to deteriorate from bad to worse and intensify the already desperate situation for Christians throughout the Nineveh Plain. Meanwhile, the New York Times is reporting that the Islamic State has gained a foothold in Libya. The jihadi militants now dominate the major Mediterranean port city of Sirte. This is where the 21 migrant Egyptian workers were kidnapped before they were executed last month. ISIS has taken advantage of the weak central government and the warring factions in the region. More on ISIS and Iraq, Iran's growing regional dominance, and U.S. foreign policy in our next segment. Meanwhile, in Rome, Pope Francis is taking the purported ISIS threats against his life in stride. When asked about the threats in an interview with an Argentinian daily, the Holy Father said, "Life is in the hands of God. I told the Lord, if your plan is that I die or that they do something to me, I ask only one favor, that they do not hurt me, because I'm a big coward when it comes to physical pain." End quote. Back here in Washington, Senate Minority Leader Harry Reid took to the Senate floor on Wednesday, threatening to block a bipartisan human trafficking bill. The Democrats' leader's problem? He wants the legislation to fund abortions. The Justice for Victims of Trafficking Act passed out of the Judiciary Committee unanimously last month. The bill both strengthens enforcement of sex trafficking laws and establishes a fund that helps victims, many of whom are trafficked minors. But this week, Reid said if language prohibiting those funds from being used for abortions is not removed, then it, quote, will not pass. We cannot have this legislation hijacked by an abortion issue. And the University of Notre Dame's lawsuit against the HHS contraceptive mandate was given new life this week. On Monday, the U.S. Supreme Court ordered a lower court to reconsider its decision that would have compelled the university to offer free birth control and abortifacient coverage to its employees. The Seventh Circuit Court of Chicago is to reconsider its ruling in light of the Supreme Court's recent Hobby Lobby decision. Now, that ruling accommodated corporations with religious objections to the contraceptive mandate. And the Templeton Prize for affirming life's spiritual dimension through insight, discovery, or practical works has been awarded to Jean Vanier. Inspired by his Catholic faith, Vanier founded L'Arche, which grew into a worldwide network of communities where those with and without intellectual disabilities live and work together. Operating on the premise that the weak enable the strong to see their own vulnerabilities, Vanier established a home outside of Paris for himself and two intellectually disabled men in 1964. His goal thereafter became creating places where those caught up in the world of success and those who are in need could come together in a, quote, transformative experience. L'Arche now has nearly 150 residential communities in 35 countries. He credits it all to Providence. And several Catholic organizations in Norfolk, Virginia have withdrawn from the Knights of Columbus St. Patrick's Day parade in protest. They're protesting the inclusion of Governor Terry McAuliffe, who was selected as Grand Marshal. The Democrat governor, who is Roman Catholic, has vowed to block pro-life legislative efforts and is also the first Virginia governor to preside over a same-sex wedding. At least 6 schools and a church won't participate in the parade, which is organized by the Regional Council of the Knights of Columbus. The boycott is being backed by Virginia's 2 Catholic bishops. In a joint letter, Bishops Francis de Lorenzo of Richmond and Paul Laverdi of Arlington, who is also the Knights of Columbus state chaplain, said it is an erroneous and serious mistake in judgment for any Catholic organization to grant awards, honors, or platforms to any public person who clearly acts in defiance of Catholic teaching. They added that the Knights' invitation to McAuliffe was done without their advice or consent, or that of the local parish priest or state council. More on this and the controversy surrounding New York City's St. Patrick's Day parade later in the show. And Cardinal Edward Egan, the former Archbishop of New York, was laid to rest on Tuesday. He died unexpectedly this past week of cardiac arrest. He was 82. The Illinois native was named Archbishop of New York by St. John Paul II in 2000. After serving as Bishop of Bridgeport, Connecticut. His successor, Cardinal Timothy Dolan, presided over the funeral mass, which, per Cardinal Egan's instructions, remained focused on God, the Mass, and the faith, and not him personally. May Cardinal Edward Egan rest in peace. And in Rome, the Vatican has confirmed that stolen documents written by Michelangelo have been offered back to the Holy See for a ransom, more than $100,000. The documents relate to Michelangelo's work on the construction of St. Peter's Basilica. The letters had been stolen from Basilica archives sometime before 1997. According to the Italian daily Il Messaggero, a former Vatican employee recently contacted Cardinal Angelo Comastri, the archpriest of St. Peter's Basilica, offering to return the Michelangelo papers. The cardinal refused to pay the ransom and reported the incident to the Vatican police. The letter is apparently a rare example of Michelangelo's handwriting and contains his signature. And speaking of great artists, did Vincent van Gogh include a secret homage to Leonardo da Vinci's Last Supper in one of his own masterworks? Journalist Todd Van Luling believes it's possible. Van Gogh's iconic painting, Café Terrace at Night, depicts patrons enjoying a pleasant evening at a bistro, but on closer inspection, the patrons are being served by a curiously robed waiter. Count the patrons. Sure enough, there are 12, one of whom is a shadowy figure in a doorway who could represent Judas. Symbols of a cross appear in the window behind the central figure, and the lantern above could serve as his halo. Religious illusions would not be out of character for Van Gogh. Before becoming an artist or cutting off his ear, Van Gogh had wished to, quote, preach the gospel everywhere. His father was a Dutch Reformed church pastor.